He is an industry staple. He's a forward thinker, and he has been a sports executive for 25 plus years. Kevin Annison has worked with Fox, has worked with the Speed Channel, has worked with the NHL and several other major entities related to sports, and currently is at a global sales and partnerships with Sparks. He comes on today because he's got a fabulous, inspiring journey and how he got to the business. There's nothing that is something that you would see on a regular basis when it comes to the way in which you've had your career go and so many different channels. And we're going to talk about it on the On to Something podcast. I'm Bryan Fenley, national anchor at Fox Sports Radio. So, Kevin, I know that over the course of your career, you have reached the summit in sports media multiple different times at different stages of your life. But I really want to get to you as a mountain climber. And what has been the largest mountain you've ever climbed?
Oh, hold on. We're talking business or my latest expeditions
We're talking about your
in
latest
my
expedition.
RV. Yeah, my RV trips here. I would say it's a 14er, Denver. So actually I've done a couple, but Long's Peak was one of the most amazing hikes I've ever done.
So you're somebody who really enjoys the wilderness. And I'm wondering how many tech ideas come when you're out in nature when there's really no tech, and they come and they spark your imagination with these ideas.
Geez, that's where you do some of your best thinking and some of the innovation. I'm always, on my side, I've just had the ability to kind of live at the intersection of sports media, entertainment, technology, just trying to reimagine the viewer experience. And, when I'm able to go out on some of these crazy hikes and the rest, just do have some, great time to think about this stuff, what works, trying to put myself in the shoes of producers and editors and the rest that are within the industry that, I'm trying to communicate with and help them do their job in a unique, innovative way, and something that's very forward thinking that the audience really is after. We're talking to the audience. This is our customer. You got to get these guys involved. You need to know who they are, and coming up with ideas and concepts around that.
In order to know who you are, you're a thrill seeker. You love adrenaline. You love being out in the wilderness. You're a biker. You're a mountain climber. We talked about this. And if you look at your career, you've worked in a lot of motorsports, which obviously taps into adrenaline and the need for speed, the FS1, the F1, excuse me. And then you've also, of course, got NASCAR and beyond. What is it about the way in which you take your career where you find yourself most overwhelmed in a great way with adrenaline? Like, where do you feel your adrenaline coming out the most in your career? Because I see it in your personal life and where the sports that you've worked with in your career, where you're an adventure seeker. And so how have you used that from a business standpoint?
That's the kind of interesting question. I've always loved cars, fast cars, of course, and putting things on the edge. I was also pivot over to as a goalie in hockey, and you're a little bit of a nut bar when you're in that position. So it's just those are the types of positions and things that I like to do. And I just apply some of it to business as well.
You're not just motivated, you're highly motivated. And everybody who knows you knows that you are not just motivated. The highly motivated, where does that come from for you?
I would say certainly parents. They instilled a drive in me. My dad was a fighter pilot, flew one of the coolest fighter jets in the world, an F-104 Starfighter. Guys that in the F4 group of the U.S. Air Force, would die to fly. And again, he was NATO. So he synced up with my mother, who was Dutch, who was complete the fabric of our family as my dad was gallivanting across, Europe and everything else. That she kept the glue together with. I have two older brothers, and we were a little bit hellions. And but anyway, she kind of taught us, if you're going to do something, do it well, and have drive and vigor when you're doing it.
If I met you when you were preteen, say 10, 11 years old.
No boy.
Yeah. What hint would you have given off to me that one day you'd be doing everything you're doing today?
Probably Lego. I would, or
Yes.
anything that I could go just construct, deconstruct, figure it out. I just, loved that type of thing. Is just, that's what my dad would tell me. Would just, ruin all these things as I was just trying to discover, how it operated. So, probably Lego was my was my key.
As we were talking about, and Kevin Annison with us, I'm Bryan Fenley. You look at your resume, and it's almost like different Lego pieces that you've put in, because you're got the finance background, and you also have these creative ideas as far as working with different, platforms and media. There's really nothing you can't do in sports media. Why do you feel that it was so important not to just hone in and specialize in one aspect of the market, where you've found the ability, in part because of being highly motivated, to open yourself up to a vast palette of different things and talents that you can do?
Um, yeah, interesting. My motto in life is just, it's been adapt, innovate, overcome, make stuff happen. And getting into building blocks, what I quickly found out, and this is also from my father and my parents, is just fiscal responsibility and the rest. But I got into finance, and when you get into finance, um, the ability to understand everything in a business and how it works, you transcend every department and have an understanding of what makes it work. It's simple math at the end of the day. It's just profit, and well, it's just it's revenue, expense, and profit. And it's pretty basic, but again, when you go across all of these larger businesses, and especially sports is so amazing in a sense that there's so much money in it and around it, and all these different and adjacent revenue streams. So as I start off the Tampa Bay Lightning, I started off as an intern in public relations group, answering fan mail and stuff. And one of the smartest thing that I did is I was like, okay, I don't know if I really, PR is kind of cool and the rest, but I went down to the finance guy and said, hey, I know how to run Excel. And Lightning was their inaugural year after I graduated university in Florida there. And the guy's like, okay, sure, help. And I just started off like literally, it was just check reconciliation. And then I just said, just give me more. I just want to understand this. And I moved into AP and AR. And then shoot, next thing I know, I'm doing player payroll. And then next thing I know, I'm sitting, with Tony and Phil Esposito, my heroes of hockey, if you will. And now I'm rolling into helping build and finance the stadium at the Ice Palace that was down there. It's just continually just asking, what can I do, how can I get more involved, and continually just insatiable appetite to learn something. And just then it kind of just continued, and I got into sports, pardon me, Fox Sports. And it started off with one of my ultimate bosses and leaders, and a guy I respect, Jim Libertor. He needed a finance guy, and I'm starting with small budgets, and I'm now moving into these massive ones, in a sense of learning this business at multiple levels, because I didn't know anything about broadcast. And again, through the finance lens, I understood, what takes is when you put, production and sales and marketing and affiliate and all legal and the rest together. and start, overseeing and managing these massive facets of a business, which again is even more like the broadcast space is just amazing. What it takes, to put a broadcast and a team together, and all the finance that actually runs the whole thing, affiliate fees.
So as you're building your career and as we're going through it right now, Kevin Annison is with us. I'm Bryan Fenley. You touched upon that insatiable appetite and desire to want more, to grow what you've done, to build and reach out and do more and take on more challenges. How do you deal with that force, but also let yourself appreciate what you've done and try to balance those out? Or what does that look like one against the other?
Yeah, I hear on my side, it's fun. Like, again, when your job is fun, like I would work 12-hour, 16-hour days, no issue. It didn't matter because it was just such a cool space to be, an opportunity uh to be present at. Like, listen, I would go. I remember I did one of the first job undercovers when I just started again in like finance at Sunshine Network, Fox Sports. Like, I didn't know what the industry, like all these people, I see all these bills coming in. I'm like, I don't know who I'm paying, what I'm paying. What's this camera guy in A1, A2, and utility guys and all the rest of this kind of stuff that are doing, and how does that production come together? And I went to my executive producer at that time, Chris Glass, and I said, dude, can I just go work as a utility, just get me under there so I can see what all these people are doing? I was this guy that's like running batteries back and forth to the camera guys that were paying. They didn't even know who the heck I was, right? And just this like kind of grunt and learning how to do the over, wire wrap of these 100-yard plus cables and the rest. But it was just cool because, I'm watching Florida and Florida State on sideline stuff. And, what's better than getting closer to the action than doing some of that stuff and a parabolic mic, and just applied that all the way through as I jumped into, again, just understanding the entire production workflow and operations workflow and what it takes to put this stuff together. And then, next I'm doing affiliate negotiation and contracts with Time Warner and Cox and all these guys, and then spinning off into real technical legal rights deals with professional sports teams and colleges and the rest, and just understanding how all this stuff was just fun watching all this. Like, again, everybody dies to work in sports, work for a team, and the rest. So it's taking advantage of the opportunity that's at hand and having a blast learning all this stuff.
In hearing how much you love to learn, and I read on your resume, you're big in your commitment to learning, but in understanding how important that is to you and what you've been able to do, I wanted to take it towards your greatest contributions that, thanks to your learning, as you size up what you've done just already in your career, what would you say, Kevin, have been your greatest contributions to sports, broadcast, and media?
Uh, that's kind of a little bit hard because, again, it's just in my world and ecosystem. But have always been looking to, again, converge linear, digital, and data. Again, I got to a very high level in the finance world, and I was like, okay, I'm not really wanting to be here. This isn't it. I want to go build and innovate stuff. And I jumped off, a pretty good elevator in finance, and making some presentations to some very high people and influential people at Fox Sports. But I said, I want to start up the digital media business. Since it was like 2006 before it all happened. And I quickly learned that, back in that day, there really wasn't any infrastructure that much that was there. And it was, literally linear dollars, digital pennies. And, I thought this is going to be the future. So I started putting together these very interesting multi-platform integrations that now, reached out to the viewer and brought them into the broadcast. In a specific example, in 2006, I created some of those called Barrett-Jackson Fantasy Bid, which is a car auction that we had 40 hours of a car auction. Again, it's a fantastic collector car, 67 Corvettes and Mustangs, and just amazing cars. But my boss Jim and I were, you'd like to kind of have a little fun and put a little dollar wagers on here. Like, how much is this car going to go for? I'm like, Jim, okay, give me $20,000. I want to go create this game where people are predicting what the prices of cars are going to go for. They're watching the broadcast, and they'll, you text in or you go to your computer and say, okay, this is what this car is going to sell for: 56,000, 100,000. Doing this kind of Price is Right without going over all these concepts, but that kind of quickly brought into this whole. You're watching the show, and now you're interacting with it in real time. And then I'm bringing in sponsors and this whole engagement cycle. That's where I was able to quickly, back in that year, turn pennies into 2 cents, 5 cents, way ahead of the curve, because I was merging this whole thing together into one really cool sponsorship execution. And from that, it just spun off into all of the concepts, just working on alternate camera angles. Did the first ever pay-per-view in Formula One, with Formula One cars, and this is like in 2000, I think, I don't know, 10 or something like that, at the US GP. And just it was our rabid fan base would love it. They were paying like $6 way back in 2010 for onboards for Formula One, and they just sit on this and just giving them alternate camera angles through their computer, and that type of thing. And it just kept doing that with a lot of our broadcasts, looking to just merge and converge linear and digital together, and still doing it to this day.
Well, if you were auctioned off as far as your value, I don't think there's a number that would hit. Is it to take off what you're saying about auction, knowing your value? And when I'm listening to you, Kevin, there's an easy book that should be written by you, and that is How to Stay Employable, because everything you've done has, in the vast amount of work you've done, you're always going to be busy. You're always going to have projects to do. And when you look at a lot of the projects that you were discussing, you were naming off, and a lot of those things that were cutting edge, when you're such a forward thinker, what is your approach to those who are more traditionalists, that are used to a certain broadcast platform, but with the understanding your track record speaks for itself? You come with a lot of clout, and your history shows all the success that you've had. So what are those conversations like as you're presenting new ideas with somebody who is interested but could use a little convincing?
Yeah, well, that's a lot of people in this industry is an understatement, and is amazing. I was very fortunate to, again, just because of all the jobs I did and the understanding that I had of almost every department and how this entire production process and how everything comes together. I can, walk in a room and walk the walk, talk the talk, and, assimilate and recognize, what marketing's doing, and, the sales objectives, and, of course, what the affiliate objectives are and the hurdles, because, we're pushing this content and they're paying, billions of dollars for our content, across, entire portfolios, and what I'm doing, disrupting, sending content, iTunes, Amazon, and just, creating all these extensions and that type of thing. But I had, respect from my peers, and I had some amazing, partners, everybody in the organization at Fox Sports and Speed, but budget, title, and that kind of stuff. We were a real cool ecosystem. I kind of found out that after I left the company, what I was doing, I'm like, everybody should be doing this, and this is where I ended up with the company I'm with now. There's a lot of silos, decisions are being made in New York or LA, and buildings are all broken up, and the departments are really focused on just their own initiatives versus they are worried about the corporate whole, but at the same time they're my bonuses on my job, I have to go drive my KPIs in my said department, and to try and get them to think of the much broader play is kind of hard. And I just say the broader plays, like, look what Facebook and Twitter and the Googles of the world, like, we're only in content, and they took the new gold, which is all the data and understanding of everything in the fabric of who your audience is and the demographics and how you go monetize this stuff. It's kind of hard, knowing the picture, but everyone's still like siloed, and you're pitching these concepts that merge everything together and kind of bring all the data and interactivity together. But you're speaking to the digital guy's worried about his world, the social guy's worried about his world, and the sales guy's worried about his world, and the production guy's like, no, I'm off in my linear world. I just want to get in, knock this production off. Yeah, I'm innovating, but at the same time, don't add too much more to my plate. I got to make sure I don't screw up the broadcast, or I'll have somebody yell at me. And it's somebody's got to put all this stuff together, which is missing, which is the frustrating thing, because that's what needs to happen.
I don't see you as a warrior. I see you more as like an even keel sort of personality.
Yeah, put a hockey stick in my hands and it's a whole different story. But anyways, yeah.
What allows you to be sort of calm under pressure? That's sort of the vibe that I get from you, and I know a lot of your colleagues would say the same thing.
Yeah, I just it's back. I think, man, you had David Hill on there, and something. His three tenets within in the control room is, again, just kind of somewhat keep it simple, but just stay cool, calm, collected. Is people are looking at you and they respond to how you're reacting. So try as best as you can keep calm, because believe me, it's in my head. I'm flipping out. But yeah, just again, and the panic doesn't really get people motivated. At times, not yelling at them. It's trying to figure out ways how to communicate with them to get it done.
You brought up David Hill. You talked about your experiences with Fox Sports, and oftentimes when we leave something, it's the people who we miss the most. Who are those people? And there are so many out there. It'd be probably impossible to name them all, but those that built relationships with you during your time at Fox that are priceless in meaning and in how you were able to generate so many great things together in those partnerships, in what you did together at Fox, and in all your work that you've done as well.
Yeah, as you said, the issue is, again, I was able to cross so many departments at corporate level, at my own level, at the network and the region and that type of thing. There's, of course, a few. It's Jim Liberatore. I owe almost everything to that gentleman, one of the best bosses in the world. Talk to anybody that's underneath him, they would say the same thing. Rick Miner, who was our executive producer. Steve Craddock was another executive producer in our world. When I had the opportunity in David Hill's meetings, is trying to listen, learn, what makes all this? How do you keep people going? Jeff Shell, who was a gentleman that I was able to be in front of as he was running Fox Sports, and just understanding, he was a builder, and then you get into some guys that were succeeded him, or complete maintainers, if you will. Again, the affiliate group, it just goes on and on and on. There's so many influential people that have done amazing things that have helped me along the way, that I just had a lot of fun with. Again, there's so many producers just at Speed in Charlotte that just worked with me. I had this crazy idea, and they would go along with it, and able to make some of these things happen.
Where do you allow your pride to come in?
It's pride comes in. It was like, man, check that out. I made that happen. It's just working with all of these groups. Like, I got the first ever live predict the game in the NFL. in a broadcast. And it was at some guys at NBC Sports that picked up on the idea, and a guy that I work with to this day, Mark Friedman, who helped graphic, make it in a graphical representation. It was just it's awesome. So the ability to go do that stuff, we did an Oscars stint. We're doing Disney content right now, while like real live interactive live or on demand content is just making these cool things come to life. And I help bring that together. It's just not me, it's an entire team and array that are there. But I don't know, pride is not too worried about it. It's just checking it. It's like, it's back to the Lego. I built that. Check that out. You can build something that's absolutely amazing.
Legos didn't seem to be a challenge for you, but what area of this business challenges you the most? Which I think for you is a good thing, because that makes you even more motivated. Just the way in which I'm sort of learning about the way in which you operate. But what is the most challenging aspect of what you do, where you're most tested, and how you're able to take that and soar above it?
Yeah, geez, like all kinds of the cool thing again is it's just rapid. Like, this industry is moving so fast. It's just with all different emerging social platforms and vendors and the technology and the ability to move video around. So simply, now we're like, I would be dying back at, I was creating content in the digital medium, like linear, you're producing that, and your big budgets, big cameras, and all the rest of that stuff, shooting stuff on mobile phones. And now it's accepted and it's good enough. But of course, the technology and content delivery networks and all the rest of that stuff is rapidly advanced to allow us to do this in a very quick fashion, and that kind of stuff. So at times, just staying on top of technology on its own, it just is moving so quickly. That's one. And then the other is just trying to convince people, like, this is the future of our business. And how do you keep your customer involved and attached to what you are doing? And sometimes the audiences are a little bit small, but again, your engagement cycles and times that we've got going are like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Like, that's unheard of in our business. Like, everything is ADD. Like, I'm a hockey fan, I can't even watch a whole hockey game in a row. I just fidgeting, moving around. I've got my phone in my hand and checking other things out and flipping channels. How do you keep this new era of gen Z's and the new alpha, that kind of group, engaged in these broadcasts that we're doing? You watch a Twitch stream, it's a complete different experience than how we were doing it, yet we're still producing a lot of broadcasts in the old way. And there's this entire market that's coming up that's not going to watch it this way, and trying to skate to where the puck is going. How do you hook those people and keep them watching your broadcast?
I know that if people were watching you play hockey, they wouldn't be able to take their eyes off of you because of how hard you play and how many guys you check up against the boards. My final question for you, and Kevin Annison is with us. I'm Bryan Fenley. In Canada, what was your highest athletic achievement?
Oh boy, I just played just a lot of club hockey and just had a lot of fun doing it. I was trying to be a skier, a hockey player, and the rest. But yeah, again, it was not that high. But when I got over to the Lightning, I'm just this accounting guy. We're playing pickup and league hockey and get to go skate with the players. The Grattens, the Hammerlicks, Benny Savards of the world, and stuff like that. And I got to stop those guys on the ice, which was cool, because they're always looking for a target to shoot on. And I was that guy. And yeah. So again, I didn't get to any high level on that side, but just had a lot of fun just playing and being in the sport, and just the adrenaline just pumping, just like riding a fast car on a racetrack. Is just nothing like it.
And I think about your career, and the adrenaline is pumping. It's like riding a fast car. at a racetrack. This is you, and you were maybe a target from those NHL guys taking shots at you, but you have hit so many targets yourself in your career and will continue to do. And wherever you are and climbing and traveling the world in your RV, I'm here to say, man, this is, you are one of the most talented people in this business. And it's an honor to have this conversation with you. Just knowing the greatness and the brilliance that comes from your mind, and just to canvas that, this is, there's so much that I can learn from you, and we can all learn from you. And it's just so neat to be able to have a moment to document your story. Kevin Annison, Bryan Fenley, thanks for doing this, man. It was very much enjoyable.
Great seeing you, Bryan. Appreciate it, my friend. Keep cranking. Is it have fun in life and do what you're doing.